the San Diego Padres traded Carpenter to Atlanta, and Atlanta then released him. It's all big contractual procedure stuff. It doesn't matter. But the Cardinals' obligation to him for the season will be $740,000. And, not that I am assuming failure, but it's not as if they have to keep him all year. If he doesn't hit, he just can't get anything done anymore. Well, it's not like they have to eat a bunch of salary. So, I'm just trying to look at it from every angle. He'll be a bench guy, and he's, can fill in here and there. But I think they wanted his veteran presence because they're so hung up on clubhouse culture, leadership. Need to have a guy who's been through this before who can help the young players. And by the way, there is value in that. But I'm just saying the Cardinals are really, 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 really emphasizing, well, we got to improve that clubhouse climate. That apparently was a hell of a lot worse down there than we ever knew, other than the Tyler O'Neill hullabaloo and the Wilson Contreras embarrassment as far as the way the team handled that. But they're obsessed with this clubhouse stuff. I mean, they're just going absolutely bananas with it. Why don't they bring Matt Holliday back and have him? Put him on the bench. That's another leader, right? Sugar Shane Robinson's out there somewhere. He's a scrappy guy, great in the clubhouse. All right, I'm being a jerk, but I'm just saying. But this must have been the worst clubhouse in the history of sports, the way that they continue to carry on about this. Here's an idea. Go get some bullpen help. I think you all have taken care of the clubhouse, okay? Right? You're going to have a lot of leaders, which is good. How about having a lot of proven instead of having all these leaders, why not go get some proven relievers? See, I rhymed there. I wasn't even trying to.
Well done.
Well, I still got a fastball. Anyway, I got mixed feelings about it because I'm gonna be straight up front with you all. I really like and respect Matt Carpenter on a personal level, and that does not color my view of the baseball stuff. But if you're asking me if there's a little part of me that's like, oh, okay, he's coming back. I'm not going to go. I don't live that far from Skinker here in the city. It doesn't mean that I'm gonna be so ticked off that they brought him back, and it's kind of, I don't know if he's got anything left. You're gonna have to forgive me, but I'm not gonna go running across a very busy Skinker Boulevard. Screaming and hollering and banging off cars that are hitting me. Okay, is that all right if I don't have a major psychological meltdown? Is it okay if I can just stay here rather than do that? All the performance artists are out today on social media. There's one, I tell you what, I never knew that we had so many great comedians who are Cardinals fans. Everybody's got their jokes, and everybody's got the fake outrage. As if the Cardinals just did something to destroy someone's family or whatever, They brought back an old player. That's what, if you hadn't noticed, that's kind of what they do. In some cases, it works out great, better than anyone expected or could have even dreamed of. Albert Pujols in 2022. Adam Wainwright could have ridden off into the sunset after a pretty solid 2021, but it's he wanted to pitch, 2022. He wanted to pitch. He wanted to get number 200. He wanted to get this. He wanted to get that. And they're like, well, he is good for business. And so they wind up the nostalgia train again, and Waino pitches at age 41, and God bless him, and I mean that sincerely. He doesn't have much left. It was a painful thing for him physically, probably emotionally. But he, pitched until towards the end of the season. He turned 42. He had a 7.40 ERA, and there was all kinds of drama. Well, I got to shut him down. Oh, well, it's got to work on the shoulder. Well, the spring training, he come back from the WBC. Well, he hurt himself with lifting weight. It was just like a lot of drama. But they figured he was worth it, and the fans certainly love Adam Wainwright. So the fans, to me, were just as culpable in this as anybody. At least until he started to pitch poorly. Then all the people, 75% of the people that loved the idea he was coming back, all of a sudden they just, I said it at the time. It's a huge mistake. No, actually, you didn't say that at the time, okay? But anyway, Wainwright had a 7.40 ERA, and me, Mr. Stat Boy. Among starting pitchers that have worked at least 100 innings in a season for the Cardinals, it was the highest ERA in a single season in the history of the franchise by a starting pitcher with at least 100 innings. At least he got that number 200, though. And so there was a happy ending, and I mean that. And that was fun. In fact, there was some brightness and happiness at the end of a very, very tough road and a very horrific season. But the whole thing, if you were going to be honest, and I know it's hard to be honest about heroes, it is. But the whole thing was an ordeal. It was just one more thing everyone had to push through and get through. And even now you hear Ali Marmol and Mozeliak talking about it, and there was so much we were trying to do so much to get Waino through. And okay, good, but how about worrying about fixing your defense last season? Maybe get around to that. What do you think?
Being an idea, huh?
So this nostalgia stuff, frankly, drives me a little goofy in the head because it just never ends. And some things are not the same as others. The Pujols thing turned out to be incredible. And I think it would have been pretty damn special even if he didn't hit all those home runs and take us on a wild ride. It was incredible. It was a beautiful experience. They're bringing Molina back as a coach, advisor, something. There's no specifics on exactly what role he will have or how many days he'll be with the Major League Club, how many days he'll be in the minors, how many days he'll be just consulting with Mo. So even though this is a great leader and a great Cardinal and one of the all-time greatest catchers, part of the appeal is bringing him back because Cardinals fans love him. He'll be good for the team if everything goes well. But I was struck by John Mozeliak when he was introduced at the winter warm-up, like for the fans Q&A. And he came out, and the first thing he said was well, what do you think about Yachty coming back? That's it? So you don't think that they're trying to, even though this was a baseball decision, you don't think there's a little bit of PR aspect to this? Well, the fans hate us. Actually, they don't. The fans love you, and you're going to sell a lot of tickets again this year, and that's fine. As I always say, I don't shame people who want to go to the ballpark. I think media people do that are just ridiculous. People can spend their money however the hell they want. It's none of your business. And Cardinals fans, but they are happy. The Cardinals fans, one of the great things about this franchise and this fan base is that history and nostalgia are important. We don't forget the past, right? And we shouldn't. We shouldn't be, we shouldn't have the brain of a housefly. He's just flitting around, one place to another, never. You should remember the past. You should honor the past. But when it's being used to kind of like maybe distract people, a little bit from, some of the problems at hand, I don't know. That's when maybe the nostalgia ain't so good. And so, it's like, well, all right. Like, hey, what do you think of Yachty coming back? Do you like that? That's Mo at the winter warm-up. First time he encountered fans there. Then you got, 2011 World Series champion Daniel Descalzo being appointed to the bench coach job. And I actually think that's a smart hire, so I'm okay with that. But again, you're sort of reaching back into your past a little bit. It's like, oh, well, we got to put together a pitching plan, a program. We got to have more people. So they hire Jason Isringhausen, the all-times franchise save leader, Cardinals Hall of Famer. And it's like, well, is he going to be at the major league level helping the pit? Well, we're trying to figure that out. Is he going to go to the minors and help the process? Well, I'm sure there'll be some of that. He might not make the road trips, but I think we'll see him a lot at Busch Stadium. Again, but they love to tell everyone they're bringing Jason Isringhausen back. Pardon me. Listen, if some of you are disappointed in me that I sound so cynical, please forgive me. I'm not trying to be this way. But they just keep going back to this well over and over and over again. They haven't had a manager from outside the organization, talking about the Cardinals, since they recruited Tony La Russa from Oakland after the 1995 season. I know that, along the way, Randy Flores was added to the front office, and, there's been some changes here and there. But for the most part, they've had two people running the baseball operation. Jeff Luhnow was in there for a while, but he never ran. He was never in charge of the entire baseball operation. But they've had two guys run the baseball operation. First Walt Jocketty, then John Mozeliak, since 1995. And that's why when they brought in Chaim Bloom as an advisor, someone who's got a strong background on advanced pitching programs and how you develop and cultivate young pitchers, how you find them and identify them, how you make them better. He's like one of the best in the industry. And that's an area where the Cardinals had fallen terribly behind. And even they finally were embarrassed enough to realize this. So when Chaim Bloom, this is like the first outside executive that had worked for another team. See, Jeff Luhnow never worked for another team, right? This is the first outside executive that like high-level executive they brought in for the baseball operation who had worked elsewhere in the majors. Really, since Walt Jocketty was brought in 1995 as the general manager by Anheuser-Busch. So they've had all these people in place. And that's why, I was joking with a friend today. I said, well, he's like, man, he told me, he said, man, everybody's getting like really fired up about this Chaim Bloom thing. Am I missing something? I said, no, well, maybe, because he really is good when it comes to pitching, and that's their weakness. But I said, I hear you. It's being treated as if like he's the second coming of Branch Rickey. And that's because the Cardinals are so set in their ways, and the same people, they hire a manager. Oh, well, it's got to be Mike Matheny. It's got to be Schultz. It's got to be Marmol. All of them Cardinals. All of them in the system forever and ever until they finally moved up. Well, Matheny was always a Cardinal. Don't get me wrong, but he didn't have as much coaching experience, and that's okay. But every time they need a manager, well, who we got down there in the minors? We got to move some up here to be the bench coach. Then we can make him the man. Then we'll have our seventh or eighth manager that we've hired internally. Gosh forbid they go out and hire a manager from the outside. I mean, after all, look at the Texas Rangers. They did that, and boy, that was a disaster, wasn't it, with Bruce Bochy? Oh, that's right. They won the World Series. They haven't hired a head of baseball operations from the outside since the mid-'90s. And even when they're, really, really beloved players retire, they find a way, or they should retire, they find a way to keep it going. And the latest is Carp. 38 years old. 38 years old. And can I read you 2 stats?
Yes.
Gibby?
Yeah, sure. I'd love it.
All right.
They might scare me, but please read them.
You know that summer he had before he broke his foot? I felt bad for him.
Mm-hmm.
Because all of a sudden he was Babe Ruth at Yankee Stadium. Remember that?
Yes, I do.
2022. That summer, and again, we're talking less than 100 plate appearances, but because he got hurt. But when he hit specifically at Yankee Stadium, home games, his batting average was .388.
Oh, boy.
His on-base percentage was over .500. His slugging percentage was over 1,000. It was 1,082. And he hit a home run at Yankee Stadium. He hit a home run every 5.4 at-bats.
At Yankee Stadium.
That was a little slice of one incredible streak that he went on, and he got a boost from Yankee Stadium, and so what? Yankee Stadium helps a lot of left-handed hitters. I was happy for Carpenter. But he broke his foot. He moved on. Didn't do much for San Diego. So I gave you those numbers about what he did specifically at Yankee Stadium. If you take then I did this because I'm nuts and I do things like this. So if you take Yankee Stadium out of it, like in other words, there's a way for me to set up a program where I can get his statistics because he started to go bad as a hitter in 2019. He was pretty good through 2018. Then he went off the cliff. So I have a thing where I have a program where I can see his statistics at every single major league stadium that he's played in since the start of the 2019 season, except I remove Yankee Stadium.
Gotcha.
Because it's okay, we know that he killed it at Yankee Stadium. What did he do everywhere else? Well, I got that answer. Would you like to hear it?
I would love to hear this.
Remember I told you he hit .388 at Yankee Stadium in 2022? Well, since 2019, he's hit .202 everywhere else, including Busch Stadium.
Oh, man. That's what I was afraid of.
And his OPS, I won't give you the other stuff, his OPS 675. I mean, if you're below 700, it's not good. But a .202 batting average, struck out about 28% of the time. So he tore it up at Yankee Stadium in a huge way for a very short time. But every other place he swung the bat, over a 5-year period, a .202 batting average, and about a 675 OPS.
Not good at all.
So listen, the part of me that really likes this guy personally and respects the hell out of him, because I remember when things would go bad with the Cardinals, they're losing, they're in a skid. It's not exactly you have a howling wolf pack media in this town. No, there's a lot of hand-holding. That's what's so funny about these post-game things. It's kind of, when I was going down there all the time, I used to just look sideways at people. It's like, well, why are you trying to comfort the player? Just ask the straight question, okay? You know what I mean? All of you watch the Bally Sports Midwest postgame. You'll know what I'm talking about. There's always these voices. It's like, well, I know you just really came out of a hot streak where you really tore it up and you were doing great and everybody was on your side. Everybody was fired up. Well, lately, I know it's been a little bit of a struggle for you. How are you gonna get back to hitting better? It's always like, here, give me your hand. Let me hold that. You'll be okay. So again, he didn't exactly have a pack of rabid wolves asking questions in the Cardinals clubhouse when they're in a losing streak or they're playing really bad. However, even by these soft media market standards, when things got tough, There was one guy you could count on every single game at the worst times, even if he was like 1 for 30, to come out and show respect to the fans by talking through the media to the fans. And he was a straight up stand-up guy. He still is. Where, a lot of his prominent teammates are, where is that guy made a couple errors. Where's he at? Oh, I don't know. I think he had to get out of here. There's some family something.
Take an extra infield out back. Sorry, he's busy.
And by the way, Carpenter wasn't the only one. Adam Wainwright was always great with that. But my point is that when other people were ducking and running on that team, prominent people ducking and running or hiding, he always came out and showed the fans respect. Because the only way you can communicate with the fans, other than now social media, but it ain't the same, where you can explain what's going on with the team, what needs to change, blah, 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 blah. The only way you can really get that instant messaging to the fans is if he goes through the media. He always did. So I think he's a class act. I think he's a great teammate. I think he does have some value because of his presence and his leadership. Very generous, unselfish guy in terms of his teammates. He'll help anybody, whatever they need. I think with a younger base of talent, he can be of service. Because again, all we're going to hear about clubhouse. So in that context, he fits what they're trying to do. But you also hope that he can hit a little bit. Look, the part of me that is happy, maybe hopeful that he can finish as a Cardinal and have a decent year. I'm not going to sit here and not tell you that, but because it doesn't. You've heard what I've been saying the last half hour or so. I don't hold back on the other stuff, but I'm a human being, and I've covered this team and written columns about him since 1989, and actually wrote about the Cardinals starting in 1985. And there's certain guys that wore that uniform or wear the uniform you really come to respect, because anybody can be a front runner, everybody can be a good guy when you're winning or when you're hitting home runs. But, you learn to really have a special appreciation for the people that stand up, whether they're going 1 for 30, whether they're in a slump, whether the team's lost 9 out of 10. They're there. They're accountable. He's one of those guys, just very generous, very unselfish, and he believes in accountability. I like that and respect that about him. That part of me is glad that guy's coming back home, so to speak. But if he can't hit, if this thing turns out bad with a bat in his hands, then what are we going to do here? We're going to have Wayne O Part 2? We're going to have, when you're trying to win and you're trying to tell the young players it's all about the winning. It's all about this. It's all about that. It's not about one person, blah, 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 blah. Well, I hope I'm wrong. I hope this isn't the case. Suppose you're getting near the All-Star break or something. And Matt Carpenter's hitting 137 and striking out all the time. And maybe because he's there, Alec Burleson's not getting as many at-bats. Or maybe there's someone down in the minor leagues that you could bring up to swing the bat, maybe could help you. So what are you going to do? We going to do the nostalgia thing all summer again? You see what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying.
So I hope it works out for him. I do. And I do understand, to a point, I do understand why they're bringing him back. And we'll let you hear from John Mozeliak when we return. All right, you take us through Jim Hewer.
Sure.
John Mozeliak talking to reporters. Gave reporters about 10, 15 minutes on a Zoom call because, that's all he could afford because they're busy out there mining that gold on the free agent market.
Looking for relievers, but
yeah.
He did take time out, and basically first thing he just mentioned is, why Matt Carpenter?
We're excited. Matt Carpenter was someone that we were always fond of when he was here, and, as we were looking at our club right now, we definitely wanted to try to find somebody with some experience who's been through some things and Was speaking with Ollie and his group, we thought this would be a pretty good fit. So when he got released, it's been something that we've been talking about. And then, Matt was, this was right before the holidays, but just wanted to get through the holidays and ultimately decide if where he wanted to play. And
there we go.
And I know we're going to listen to the second cut now, but again, if you remember what I was saying in the first segment of the show, where the Cardinals are just like so obsessed with the clubhouse culture that it's a good, healthy thing if you feel your clubhouse needs to be better. But they're going so far with this that I'm starting to think, well, my goodness, what the hell went on? What the hell went on in there that we don't know about? Did you have players swinging axes at each other? What, throwing knives? Like what the hell was going on in there? Right?
It does kind of scream extreme. That like, whoa, what are you guys doing here? That's the next cut from John Mozeliak, just basically talking about the need for a veteran voice.
I do feel like, referencing the 2023 season again, and you guys have heard me probably talk in nausea about last year, and I would agree, I probably have, that, we were missing some voices in that clubhouse. And, I definitely feel like somebody like a Matt Carpenter who, A, understands the St. Louis Cardinals and how we do things, B, understands where he is in his own career and understanding the type of role he'll have. Look, he's going to come into camp and he wants to compete for at-bats. Let's not sugarcoat this, but he also understands that he's not where he once was. And so his contribution can be more of a twofold part of that, where he can bring in some veteran leadership to the club, but he certainly still wants to have some impact on this team as a player.
Okay, that's cool.
I like the talk. Now, what about Matt Carpenter on the field? What can he really bring to this team? We talked about the clubhouse, but what about on the field?
We were also able to look at some hard data and got the sense of is he getting his bat speed back, and is he showing the ability to increase his exit velocity? And both of those looked like they were trending in the right direction. And the one gift Matt Carpenter has is he knows how to see a baseball, and he can still take a walk, and so that's still a great skill. But we are encouraged where his swing is right now.
And he has been working with Holiday, and I'm not saying that to be sarcastic. Holiday helped Carpenter get ready for that 2022 season, where he did, until he got hurt, unfortunately, he did have a hell of a year for the Yankees.
He did, and you referenced it earlier, reminded me of all the home run calls from John from the Yankees radio network, where it was the summer of Carp, is what it turned out being until he got hurt again. It was that spectacular, but like you said, the foot became a problem, and everything went downhill from there. Next one, John Mozeliak was asked, okay, you have Alec Burleson on this roster. Can you have Matt Carpenter on the roster at the same time? Where does Matt kind of slot in with this group?
I do think the 26-man actually just gives you that flexibility. I've spent almost all of my career dealing with a 25-man roster, so I think this is just an added benefit. And yeah, I could see a scenario where they're both on this club. And in Carp's case, I think he, gives us flexibility, but, I think a lot of this roster has a lot of internal flexibility as well. So, ultimately he probably should show up with multiple gloves, but how we really utilize that will come down to how we're mixing and matching in general.
I really just hope my goal or my hopes for Matt Carpenter, because I really want to see him succeed rather than fail, and that has nothing to do with whether the Cardinals should need to fix the bullpen, because obviously they do. Mm-hmm. But in fairness to them, the money that they're obligated to pay Carpenter does not in any way reduce or curtail their financial ability to go out and sign a really good reliever or two. So, yeah, all things equal, they still are obligated to do that. this move will be really, 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 really ridiculed if they don't do what they should do with their bullpen. And it's like, if this turns out to be the last off-season move,
oh boy,
other than, signing some AAA guy or whatever. I mean, then all the people that I always say are performance artists with a fake outrage on Twitter, well, gosh, hell, I may join them.
You're right. I mean, this can't be it. Yeah.
So, but I just hope as a left-handed bat, he's got some magic left and can go out on a positive note and help the Cardinals against some right-handed pitching late in games. But if Ollie starts running him out there to play defense,
oh no, all
the time, come on. See, because Ollie's into this whole former Cardinals thing too, right?
Yes,
he's really, really is. And it's just at some point, and it's so funny. I was talking to Mrs. Burney last night, and I said, at some point, the Cardinals just have to sort of, move on. I mean, it's great to honor former players. I love them coming back. I love the red jacket ceremonies. I love the Hall of Fame inductions. I love the reunions. That's all great. But when you have to make actual baseball decisions and you have a chance maybe to bring in a fresh perspective, new voices, new leadership, this or that or this or that, you can't just by habit, by rote, just always reach back to the past. There is the sentimental and the nostalgia and the occasions to honor and celebrate baseball players, so many great ones. That's always a beautiful thing. But this only reinforces the notion that you're out of ideas. Because you go back to the same thing over and over again, even though, again, I don't think anybody complained, not really, about them bringing Albert Pujols back, and the thing worked out incredibly well. But I'm just saying, and I mentioned it earlier, I'm talking about hiring managers, I'm talking about the front office, I'm talking about coaches, I'm talking about this, it's just like, why are you afraid to bring in new people who might have something to offer? Why is it always, everybody respected him as a player, he can help us as a coach, or I don't know. I'll shut up. Go ahead.
No,
I'm kind of going around in circles, and that's my fault.
The reality is that's the first thing that popped in my head when the news came out today, Barney, was, we finally got rid of let's get one more hurrah for the Cardinal, the lifelong Cardinal, the guy that's been here a long time. You didn't want to revisit that again this year, and by doing this, it just screams, oh, look what's back. We're reaching back. And we got a text here. It kind of says what you're saying, but I love it. I'm going to read it. It says, there's a difference between honoring the past and living in the past.
Oh, I love that. Perfect.
Isn't it great?
That's perfect. I wish I would have thought of that exact phrase.
I mean,
right?
that sums up, at least to me, exactly what's going on here.
Yeah.
I hope he can help. But here's the other thing with this, Bernie, in terms of the culture, the helping of the culture. Can you really help the culture if you're batting 179 and you can't contribute on the field? I mean, I don't think you can.
It's tougher. He's got equity, but yeah, your point's well taken. Absolutely.
It's like when Waino was hurt all last year, or wasn't hurt, but he was just not performing well at all. It's like, well, he can't, rally the troops and be the voice in there because he can't even get himself, through 2 innings on the mound. He can't be that voice. And if we're going to do the same thing again, maybe with Carpenter, I just screams, big red flags flying around all the time.
I'm going to say one other thing. I don't know that we have the sound, the cut on this where, because I read quotes, a couple different places where Mo was talking about the leadership thing. And he alluded to the fact that, in effect, it got a little tough because, Goldie was trying to do all this stuff, like trying to hold teammates accountable, trying to like, get after people a little bit. Goldie was doing it and it kind of wore him out, and he needs more help. He need other people in there doing it. And here I go again, but this just adds more to the file. Where was your third baseman at?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so obvious now. There's some where was he? You got the president of baseball operations talking about how Goldie was the one guy down there trying to hold people accountable. Trying to. Oh, I think he said he was the guy that said what needed to be said, and that's tough to be the only guy. He needed more help. Okay. Where was the greatest third baseman in the history of the universe? Where was he at?
The more this offseason has gone on, there's more and more questions about him in terms of the clubhouse presence. There's no doubt.
And is anybody buying this? Anybody buying this crap about the winter warm up? Well, he had family obligations. Talking about Arenado.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sure, he did.
That was another one of our texts here. It suggested maybe Carpenter can help calm Nolan Arenado down or give him some guidance. I don't know, but that was one of the comments that was brought up here.
Yeah, I don't know. If Goldie can't do it, then good luck to anybody else.
Yeah, true on that. Another from our text.
That's what's so funny about this. All of this, hand wringing, pearl clutching over the clubhouse, right?
All of a sudden, yes.
Is anybody going to bring Nolan Arenado's name up in relation to this? Here's what we need from Nolan. Oh, and people say, well, that stuff's private. That's better. No, why?
Everything else is out.
They're going public every damn day. Anything they talk, whenever they talk to the media, it's always leadership. We don't have enough. We need more leaders. Clubhouse needs to be better. It's got to be more about the team than individuals. Everyone's got to be unified. Everyone's got to do their part. Everyone's got to hold each other accountable. This one or two guys can't do. Goldie can't do it alone. Clubhouse. Well, it's funny that they never mention Arenado. And I'm not trying to stir anything up. It's such an obvious absence from the conversation when they talk about something that they have declared to be so vital. Clubhouse leadership. His name is never mentioned. Oh, Brennan Donovan's trying. Goldie really works hard. Contreras is trying. We got some position players that really get it. They really want to help, and Donovan's going to be the next guy, and Contreras will be even more prominent in that area in the second year, and Goldie just nonstop doing what he feels he's got to do as a leader. So they mentioned 3 or 4 guys, and then they talk about how bad it is, and then they talk about how, we need more people that, want to be there and do it for the Cardinals rather than themselves. So they never bring Arenado's name up when they're talking about people that are trying to do it. But then they make these cryptic remarks about people who they're implying aren't doing it. Well, they got to put the team first instead of putting themselves first. Well, who are we talking about there? What? Ivan Herrera? Who? I mean, you wouldn't mention that unless the players that are in question are prominent players who do have stature in the clubhouse. Right?
He's the only one of stature in that clubhouse that never gets mentioned. You're right.
Never gets mentioned.
It's glaring that it's not mentioned.
And don't ever listen. If any of y'all, and we got to take a break here. If any of y'all are waiting for local media to jump on this and talk about it the way I am, don't be holding your breath or anything like that, because it ain't going to happen. Can't touch that third rail, as the saying goes.